So, in the 1989-90 season, Manchester United won the FA Cup, but unfortunately, we finished 13th place in the league, meaning we did not qualify for any European competition. So, this is part one of two videos where I'm going to be discussing what are the consequences of not finishing in the top 10 and not qualifying for any European competition. And then in the second part of the video, I'm going to be talking about what are the positives of not qualifying for any European competition. Let's get into it. So of late, me and Ben have been going back and forth, and we've sort of unanimously agreed that it'll be in United's best interest that we do not finish in any European competition. And I'm going to get more into that in the second part of the video. But in this video, I want to start talking about what exactly are the consequences of not qualifying for any European competition. Because at the rate that we are going, right, it doesn't seem like we have any chance of finishing in the top 10 of the league, nor do we stand any chance of qualifying for any European competition. So without further ado, let's get started. So the prize money. This is an important source of income, especially in the UEFA Champions League. UEFA distributes hundreds of millions of euros each season. The distribution is a bit complex, but let me break it down to you. So first of all, the starting fee, right? So all teams entering the group stages receive a base participation fee. So if you qualify for any European competition, it means that your club will receive cash. You're going to receive some funds just for participating in the competition. Now let's move on to performance-based payments. So teams earn bonuses for wins and draws in the group stage and knockout rounds. The further a team progresses, the more they earn. So there is another stream of revenue that a club misses out on by not participating in these competitions. Now, the coefficient ranking, all right? So UEFA used the coefficient ranking based on a team's performance in the European competition over the past 10 years. Higher ranked teams receive a larger share of the prize money pool. So just to break this down, the further you go, or if you end up winning a European competition, there's going to be a prize money, and that prize money is distributed amongst the teams that go far. So the higher you finish, or if you finish first, you win the competition, it means you're going to get a sum of that prize money, and that prize money obviously gets injected back into the club, and that money is used obviously to improve things at the club, whether that's going to be transfers, grounds, facilities, etc. Whatever the case is, this is one of those important sources of income just by participating in this competition. So the market pool, a portion of the prize money is distributed based on the proportional value of each country's television market. This means that teams from larger TV markets like England receive a larger share. And now broadcasting revenue. So broadcasting revenue, teams also make a significant money from broadcasting rights related to the European competition. UEFA sells these broadcasting rights to various broadcasters around the world, and a portion of this revenue is distributed to participating clubs. This distribution is also linked to the market pool, meaning EPL teams benefit from the Premier League's global popularity. Missing out on the European football means missing out on the substantial broadcasting revenue. So basically, the games are being broadcasted, right? And they're being shown all over the world. Now, they're not being shown all over the world for free. So other broadcasting stations in other countries are going to buy the rights to show the games. So for example, in Africa, the biggest one is Super Sports, right? So Super Sports will buy some rights to show these games. That money that they pay, okay, to show these games globally is going to be added to the prize pool that's going to be distributed to the clubs. In England, there's a big football market, and so the prize pool therefore is big. Now moving on to the match day revenue. Hosting European matches generates a considerable amount of income. So this is through ticket sales. So European competitions are popular. Why are they popular? Because these are the best clubs from each league across Europe that are going to be competing against each other. So it's going to be Titans versus Titans. People want to go to the stadiums to watch these matches. People want to pay for, TV services so they can be able to watch these matches. So if your club is not in the UEFA Champions League or Europa or Conference or in any European competition, you are less likely to invest your time into it, right? Your time and money into it, because you want to see your team participate in that competition. So if you're not going to qualify for any of those European competitions, it basically means that there's less money coming through those ticket sales, because there's going to be no money being spent on those nights, right? Hospitality, right? So obviously people are going to be traveling far and near, to come and watch the matches. That's also going to add in terms of the revenue that's being brought in from the match day revenue, right? Merchandise sales, catering concessions, all these things speak for themselves. Commercial revenue. Success in the European competition significantly enhances a club's brand and marketability. Like I said, you're involved in the UEFA Champions League. You're competing against big clubs. You're out there globally. Becoming a powerhouse in this competition only improves your popularity and your relevance in the football market. That's why teams like Real Madrid are so big globally, because of late, they've been dominating the Champions League. And you'll find people in countries that football is not even popular, but just because of the big influence of the Champions League, and Real Madrid is always at the helm of it, it gives them that exposure. It gives them that global market, which is a great revenue source by just being involved in the competition, but not only just being involved, but also dominating it at the same time. So this obviously comes with sponsorship deals, merchandising and licensing, brand value. So there's a lot that's involved in the commercial revenue just being involved in these type of competitions. All right, so that's one aspect of not being involved in European competitions that can really hurt your club's revenue. All right, now let's move on to something else. We want to be talking about diminished player appeal. All right, top players, the best players want to compete at the highest level. And this is a conversation I have time and time with Ben, where I talk about the worse United get over the years, the less chance we have of bringing in the top talent that we need at this club. Players want to be involved in these big competitions. If we're not going to qualify for any European competition, players are not going to be interested to come to this club. That's just the unfortunate truth. Players want to be involved in the Champions League. They want to put their name out there. This is going to give them exposure and recognition. This is also a player's personal ambition to go and prove themselves on a big stage by competing against the best teams out there. And if they can go and compete at the highest level and showcase that they can do it not only domestically, but in Europe as well, that really gives more status to their name. And every single player wants that. So obviously, in the result of this, it will affect the transfer market. All right, because players during the transfer market are going to look at, where has this team finished? What are their plans? What are their goals? Are they competitive? Are they competing in these big competitions, i.e. the UEFA Champions League? So if your club is not going to be finishing in those type of positions, that's going to enable them to attract the players to be involved in this competition. It really, really impacts the team. And so with this impacting the team, it also impacts the squad depth. All right, so reduced competition. A less congested fixture list can have unintended consequences. Lack of match fitness. Players who don't play on a regular basis may struggle to maintain their fitness and sharpness. Reduced development. Young players may miss out on valuable experience gained from playing against top European oppositions. Lower team morale. A lack of high-stake matches can lead to lower team morale and motivation. If you're not going to be involved in the Champions League, you're not going to be involved in big competitions, what's there to motivate the players to keep pushing harder and want to push their limits if they're only going to be involved in their domestic league and maybe the other smaller competitions? They need something else that's going to drive them, motivate them to play against the best of the best. Okay, now let's move on to financial constraints. Reduced revenue can limit a club's ability to invest in the squad, so reduced transfer budget. Less money is available for signing new players. Difficulty competing for top targets. They may be priced out of the market for top players, and we've seen that in recent times where we want to buy a player, the player costs too much, the club says it do not have enough money to make this transfer possible, right? So as you said at the beginning, huge financial revenue impact on the club. If you think we are struggling now to find money to buy players, it's only going to get worse if Manchester United do not finish in a European competition spot. Alright? Inability to maintain squad depth. They may struggle to maintain a strong squad capable of competing on multiple fronts. So this means we're not going to have a lack of quality players. We are going to struggle because we're going to rely a lot on first team players that are really good, and they're going to be burnt out because we do not have the squad depth to rotate, to keep that level, and thus we're going to end up burning out our players, which ultimately we're currently seeing at the club because we lack that squad depth. Okay, now let's talk about the long-term impact. League competitiveness. Consistently missing out on Europe can severely impact a club's long-term competitiveness. So, falling behind financially, difficulty attracting and retaining talent, lower league positions. This can result in lower league finishes and a decline in overall performances. Domestic dominance. The financial advantages of European football contribute to the dominance of certain clubs. Financial disparity. Clubs that constantly qualify for Europe generate significantly more revenue, creating a financial gap between them and other clubs. So, finishing in European competitions, going far, even winning it means more money. More money means more expenditure. More expenditure means that you're putting yourself in a better competitive advantage over your rivals because you're going to have the bank to get the players that you need to be consistently good, not only in your domestic league, but also out there in the European competitions. Okay? Competitive advantage. The financial advantage allows them to invest more heavily in their squad. Basically, what I was saying, giving them a more competitive edge in the Premier League. Circle of success. This can create a circle of success where the same clubs consistently qualify for Europe and dominate domestic competitions. This is something that we thrived at under Alex Ferguson, and this is something that we're seeing Man City do, right? Because they're playing very well, they're competing in the Champions League, they won it for the first time, more revenue, more expenditure, better players. They keep that consistency of having a good, strong squad. Obviously, things are not really going their way this season, but you can clearly see over the past decade what the result of them going from a lower league table club to them finishing in European competitions and getting more revenue season after season, allowing them to build a stronger and better team to the point where they got to eventually winning the competition. All right. So those are the points I just wanted to touch on in terms of the consequences of not finishing in European competitions. Now, we still have a long way to go. All right. I'm not saying that we are not going to finish in the top 10, but I just wanted to make people understand that yes, even though they are positives to finishing outside of the top 10 or not qualifying for any European competition, we also need to understand the consequences of it. We need to understand that if we're not going to finish in top 10 and in the European competition, this is how it's going to affect us. And it's really going to make it really difficult given where we currently are on the table. So yeah, part 2 will be dropping tomorrow. So like and subscribe to see that video when it drops. And I'll see y'all then. Peace.